Have you ever felt that reading, especially news, makes you less intelligent? Do you know someone who consumes a vast amount of news, hoping to become more educated, but ends up with narrow views and illogical reasoning? In this video, we will explore the paradox of social media channels, such as Twitter, Facebook, and newspapers, which create a false sense of knowledge and wisdom. Join us as we expose the illusion of understanding and its potential to lead to stupidity. Let's begin with Gustave Flaubert, a prominent French writer and playwright who criticized newspapers, claiming that they induce stupidity. He believed that newspapers provide readers with a false sense of knowledge, leading to superficial and biased accounts of events and creating a false impression of understanding that is not equivalent to true comprehension. By creating a misleading sense of knowledge and wisdom, newspapers create a phenomenon called the maturity of stupidity, as described by scholars. In Flaubert's last novel, Bouvard et Pécuchet, the two main characters exemplify this phenomenon. Both Bouvard and Pécuchet are devoted newspaper readers who uncritically accept any information without questioning its accuracy or validity. They are not stupid because of their lack of intelligence or education, but rather because they have reached a stage of maturity where they no longer question the validity of their sources of information. They accept the illusion of understanding provided by newspapers and other forms of popular culture without hesitation. For instance, a newspaper may report on a political scandal with limited details, offering only a simplified version of the story. Readers may believe that they comprehend the situation, but in reality, they are missing crucial information that would give them a complete and accurate understanding of the issue. In his article, A New Theory of Stupidity, philosopher Sacha Golob cites Flaubert as one of his sources of inspiration, arguing that stupidity is a form of self-imposed conceptual limitations. He suggests that newspapers offer simplified and distorted representations of reality, reinforcing existing opinions and promoting received ideas that circulate in society as if they were true, but which are, in fact, false or empty. These received ideas include clichés, stereotypes, and prejudices that shape our perception of the world and ourselves. Flaubert believed that newspapers are one of the main sources and distributors of received ideas. Golob further argues that newspapers hinder our ability to think for ourselves and challenge our own assumptions. By relying on newspapers for our understanding of the world, we limit our exposure to new ideas and different perspectives, becoming complacent in our biases and reinforcing received ideas. This, in turn, makes us more stupid, as we become less able to think critically and engage with the complexities of the world. For example, a newspaper might present an event simply as a matter of right versus wrong, with no room for nuance or complexity. By presenting the issue in this way, the newspaper reinforces a received idea and limits our ability to engage with the issue in a critical and thoughtful way. We become passive consumers of information rather than active participants in the process of understanding the world around us. If the opinions of Flaubert and Golob have not convinced you of the dangers of the world of news, consider the heavy weaponry in the form of Soren Kierkegaard, a famous theologian and father of existentialism. In his work, The Present Age, he wrote that the press promotes superficiality and distracts people from more important matters, creating a void in which all reality is dissolved. Kierkegaard believed that newspapers fostered a culture of distraction, encouraging people to focus on the trivial and immediate, rather than the substantive and long-term. For instance, newspapers may prioritize rumors about celebrity relationships while completely overlooking the impact of technology on society, the need for educational reforms, and other crucial issues. For centuries, newspapers have prioritized sensationalist headlines over factual reporting, sometimes even fabricating stories or presenting misleading information. The rise of the internet and social media has made this situation even worse. Today, it is more difficult to distinguish between what is important and what is trivial. With so much information available at our fingertips, it can be challenging to sort through it all and determine what is true and what is false. As a result, there is a lack of critical thinking on a global scale, with people more likely to accept information at face value rather than questioning it. For example, During the recent global pandemic, there was a lot of false or misleading news circulating online about the virus and its origins. Some people believed that the virus was a hoax, while others believed that it had been deliberately engineered as a bioweapon. In times of crisis, all misleading and dumbing information can lead people to ignore logic and their own common sense by engaging in risky behaviors. The extensive use of social media presents other dangers. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook provide filter bubbles or echo chambers, where users are exposed only to news that reinforces their existing beliefs, while opposing views are silenced or ignored. Can you become smarter if you only read information that pleases you? As for social media in general, they foster a culture of immediacy where breaking news takes precedence over careful fact-checking, leading to inaccurate reporting and retractions, misunderstandings, or oversimplifications of complex issues. They also encourage readers to consume short tweets without delving into the details of a story, thanks to the scrolling feature. People may form opinions based on clickbait headlines alone without reading the article in its entirety, resulting in a lack of critical thinking and an oversimplified understanding of complex issues. Nicholas Carr, an American writer who has extensively written about technology, business, and culture, argues in his book, The Shallows, that the internet is changing the way we process information and think. One of the key ways this is happening is through the promotion of a culture of skimming and scanning, where we browse through information without truly engaging with it. The constant stream of notifications and distractions of the internet does not help us to better understand real news events or distinguish them from fake news. The problem that Flaubert identified over a century ago has worsened today. People read more news than ever before, but it does not make them any smarter or happier. Rolf Dobelli, a Swiss author and businessman, warns us about the harmful effects of news consumption. In his book, Stop Reading the News, he suggests that the constant stream of information from the news media can lead to anxiety and a distorted view of the world. A British author and philosopher, Alain de Botton, agrees with Dobelli and explains the mechanism by which modern news can put us in such an unhealthy mental condition, by presenting disconnected events that lack context or analysis. For example, in the aftermath of a mass shooting, news outlets may focus on the number of casualties or the identity of the perpetrator, but fail to delve deeper into underlying factors that contribute to gun violence, such as mental health issues or lax gun control laws. Without this context and analysis, readers may feel anxious or helpless because they do not know how to address root causes. In other words, why do we need information about a problem, such as a mass shooting in our neighborhood, if there is no solution? Can such news help us sleep better? De Botton suggests that news presentation can distort our view of reality if it focuses on negative events and ignores positive developments. Consider the coverage of climate change in the news. While climate change is a significant issue, news outlets may only focus on negative consequences like rising sea levels and extreme weather events. By ignoring positive developments like renewable energy and conservation efforts, news outlets may create a distorted view of the world. This can lead to apathy or despair among readers rather than motivating them to take action and make a positive difference. Newspapers have changed significantly since Flaubert's time, both in terms of technology and content. Modern technologies have enabled newspapers to produce more copies, reach wider audiences, and deliver news faster. However, despite these improvements, the core problems that Flaubert identified with newspapers 200 years ago may still persist today, and the internet may have amplified them. News media still create a false sense of knowledge and wisdom by giving incomplete, inaccurate, or misleading information. They often offer simplified and distorted representations of reality by relying on cliches, stereotypes, prejudices, and received ideas, ignoring alternative opinions or voices that challenge the dominant or mainstream views. Regarding smartphones, they have enabled journalists to report news faster, more conveniently, and more interactively. They empower anyone to participate in news production and spreading by capturing and sharing images, videos, and opinions on social media platforms. However, they also contribute to the decline of news quality by increasing the pressure for speed and sensationalism, reducing the depth and accuracy of reporting, and creating echo chambers and filter bubbles that limit exposure to diverse and challenging views. Smartphones reduce the attention span and critical thinking skills of news consumers, forcing them to rely on headlines, tweets, or summaries instead of reading full articles or watching long videos. If so many bright minds are against news consumption, should we ban newspapers and social media from our lives for good? Let's not be so radical, but we should try to be more cautious. Ultimately, a person should ask themselves what value they gain from consuming news from a particular source of information and what kind of news they really want to read. While professional interests may justify the need for specific news, such as law news for lawyers or economic and tax information for tax professionals, what about the majority of news presented on major platforms like BBC, CNN, Daily Telegraph, and others? What value do we gain from hearing or reading about school shootings, earthquakes in faraway countries, or celebrity gossip? Even if all this information is unbiased and factually correct, is it better for our personal development to browse through 1,000 news items like that? Or would it be more valuable to read one of Plato's books, or even a piece of Flaubert's fiction? Please leave a like or subscribe if you appreciate our work. If you know anyone who has become a victim of media news, who consume them in large quantities, and who often spam your social media feed with clickbait headlines without reading articles themselves, please share your story in the comment section below. See you next time.